All right, we're here at my tiny DIY worm bin, and the first thing I'm noticing is that these newspaper pieces are getting eaten up pretty well, and that we've got a pretty good depression over here and also over here. And the oats were placed on this side and the strawberries were placed over here on this side, and that was 11 days ago. The plan was to see which direction they went to first, but life got in the way and we were on a vacation and spent some time away, so I didn't quite get to them. But let's go ahead and start digging under and see if we find anything or a congregation of worms. Now, basically in those 11 days, they were probably foraging and just kind of taking care of any of the extra food scraps that were in here. And sure enough, look at that, just all kinds of chunky worms in here. It is starting to get pretty close to being mostly castings here. We do have some bedding still that's trying to get worked over, but I am definitely observing mature, bigger worms here, which is great. And it's been 124 days since we started this bin. No sign of the oats, which is to be expected, but this bin is just looking fantastic as far as being 124 days old. It's probably not going to be much more than another month or so before this is totally ready. There are some stubborn pieces of bedding, like these colored pieces of cereal box that I have in here. Usually I don't put too many of those in there, but they do take a long time. Looking good over here. Okay, so yeah, you can just see lots of castings, and they kind of stick together but then easily broken apart. So the moisture's doing pretty well. About this time of the bin's life, I get a little worried about, retaining too much moisture, but because it's gotten warmer around here in Florida, the air conditioning has been popping on, which dries out the air within the house, so it actually helps to regulate the bin moisture. Let's look over here on the strawberry side. And this is also the side that has the burlap sack. And within that burlap sack, we put some strawberries, and then we also put some oats in here. So just on the outside, it's looking kind of threadbare, and I'm starting to see the first signs of maybe some bigger holes in it, which is good. And about the same thing over here. Still some mites, which I'm not too worried about. And we'll look inside and see what we have in here. I'll go ahead and show you all first. All right, so it looks like whatever was in there, they made into castings, and there's some worms in there. So yeah, we'll keep adding that together. And here's a piece of the avocado that we had put in there, and mites definitely like to congregate on the avocado. Interesting. I'm just gonna kind of break it up a little bit. All right, let's excavate a little bit more. And it's feeling great. It's just feeling like really good castings. And I think that they obviously have got to all the strawberry parts, but I'm wondering if they left some of the tops. I was mentioning before that I really like strawberry tops for a brand new bin, and that's because you can put the strawberry tops in the bin, maybe put 2 in there, and then you can see if they've eaten the strawberry away and then left the leafy top part. And that just kind of gives you an indication that, hey, my worms are eating and things are good. Whereas if you put a puree or you put some lettuce in there, it kind of turns the same color as the surrounding bedding, and you're not really sure, did they eat it or is that just the bedding that's kind of moist? But with the strawberry top, you can get a definitive, they have eaten the strawberries, left that, so I know that my worms are eating, for a new bin or a bin where you're wondering if your worms are kind of taking the bait and eating the food that you're putting in there. Again, we're finding big old thick worms, which I don't know if that is because of the oats or just because the bin is getting more mature. And let's go ahead and get into the middle since I've gotten the edges. The middle has kind of been ignored lately because we've been doing stuff with migrations back and forth. But yeah, you can see just a ton of worms all throughout this bin. Just gonna kind of break it up. The other thing that happens when you get a more mature bin like this is because everything is just a little bit more moist and sticking together, you can get pockets of, anaerobic activity, and you really don't want that. Both the worms and the microbes need to have oxygen, or I guess the microbes that you want growing in your bins need to have oxygen. So I always find it good to kind of aerate the worm bin. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can just throw stuff in and let nature take its course. But this is what I like to do. I think we've kind of gotten through the whole bin. So what I'm gonna do for this feeding is I'm gonna take 2 avocado shells and I'm gonna use them to try and bait the worms. Kind of the theme that I'm doing, as I'm not putting any more bedding and I'm kind of trying to let them forage for the remaining bedding and food, is just try and find the different ways that we can get the worms to go somewhere so that we can just make harvesting a little bit easier on ourselves. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put an avocado shell here, and it is literally just gonna be the avocado shell. And then I'm gonna put another avocado shell right here, and I'm just gonna put some strawberries in it. And I know that worms love to go into the avocado shell, so I'm just gonna see if we can get a couple of worm balls and kind of use them to bait out the worms. That way, when it does come time to harvest this out, and even if I wanna count them, I can get all the worms congregating into one place. So let's go ahead and give that a try. So here we go. Here's the 2 avocado shells. They each have a little bit of flesh on them, and then the strawberries that we're gonna use. So we'll just put them right down like that inside. And then I'll go ahead and fill this with strawberries. And actually, that may be as full as it gets. Right there. All right, and of course we're gonna get the burlap sack with some strawberries in here. We'll just shove those in there. They seem to enjoy this burlap sack going in and out of it. And then we're gonna add our oats, and we'll put those all over both sides. I just have so many oats from that package that was expired in my pantry. All right, so you know what? I'm just gonna put that in the middle right there. And then we'll add our grit, which is just pulverized eggshells that they use to help digest their food by grinding it. And then we'll add some coffee and tea grounds, just another food source for them. And now the hard part, covering it up. And if you've enjoyed this video, I appreciate you hitting the like button. And if you enjoy the experiments I do, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I've got 2 other bins. I've got a outdoor worm bin made out of 20-gallon fabric pots that I do different experiments in. And then I've got a Vermihut worm tower, which is a really good bin that I also do different experiments in and show you how to work a worm tower. But this should be a pretty good feeding. I'm gonna try and push down that burlap sack a little bit so I can cover it up some more. And hopefully as we go on here, they continue to break down some of this cardboard that we're seeing, but other than that, the castings are looking really good. And this is almost kind of in a foraging. I almost want to call it a foraging. I just don't want to stop feeding it, you know, because they can eat a little bit of food, but that bedding, they need to continue to eat before I will harvest what I have in here. They really need to eat that down more. So I'm thinking at least 30, maybe 40 more days for this bin before we're able to harvest. So I hope everybody's having a great day, and happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.